Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call episode. This package here comes from, sorry, I should have looked. It comes from Daniel in Deutschland, so Germany. Hi to all my German viewers. This package it's really heavy. It is quite large, so I'm still trying to work through the bigger packages that I have here down in the basement. I know it's not really cutting into the amount of stuff I have because there are lots and lots of little packages, but the problem is, I think I mentioned before, I'm always short on space. So the big ones going first helps me out, and then I can focus on the smaller ones. I was also clued in there's some perishable items inside this package, so I don't want to let this one sit around too long. Now, I discussed with Daniel what's in here via email, and I completely forgot already. I don't remember. It took a little while to get here from Germany, so I have an excuse. Or maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. So one thing that's pretty cool is we have some packing material that's newsprint, and I'm pretty sure this is all in Japanese. There's even like a food advertisement in here. It's like from a supermarket or something, like selling chocolates and stuff. Must have been like around Valentine's Day based on the hearts and things like that. Okay, we have a note right here. We'll look at that in a second. Let me just unpack everything from the box here. All right, I unpacked an absolute ton of stuff on here. It's pretty fun. Daniel used like, well, he put some extra stuff as packing material around all this stuff. I need to organize here a little bit. I'm discombobulated with all this stuff. All right, so there's a SCART video cable, so that's something. And there's something here that says KC85 test PSU. And then we have a German style power cord, or somewhere in Europe at least. Next up, we have a 3-pin DIN cable. I'm pretty sure what's in the wrapping here is the star of the show. It's called the KC85/3 basis device. There's a letter. We're gonna have to go to the letter because I'm just wholeheartedly confused. Oh, it says here, made in the GDR. Oh, so this is like old school, 220 volts, 50 hertz, RGB, expansion interface. It's like some kind of computer. I'm still trying to organize here, and it looks like we got keyboards as well. I guess there's an extra one in case one is not working. What's kind of blowing my mind is the keyboard cable. It's just a single TRS type jack. How can you send an entire keyboard signal over that? This other keyboard here seems to be in a little bit better shape. Both are in good shape. This one has a sticker here. The other one is fallen off. The KC85 keyboard. It's so funny how East Germany, and yet there's English on here. And there's also this, something called a data cord, which is like a giant like Iron Curtain era. Oh, got some loose parts inside. Cassette player. Oh, look at this thing. And then we also have a whole bunch of candy. We got some chocolates and we got some Haribo. So that's what I was talking about when it came to perishable stuff. Okay, let's get to this letter. Dear Adrian, I'm a longtime subscriber of your YouTube channel, and your work gave me the confidence to try to work on retro computers as well. I was wondering what I could do in exchange for all the great videos, so sending you something retro was my plan. Since you already have, quote unquote, a few Commodore 64s and several UK-based computers, I decided to find something different. In the old days, when Germany was split between West Germany and East Germany, the GDR, the home computer hobby, also developed over there in East Germany. To be honest, I was born in West Germany near the border to the Netherlands and never had explored what they created behind the wall. So this is an adventure for me as well. The computer I sent you is a KC85/3, basically a third evolution of the KC85, which was called the HC900, the Heimcomputer 900, aka home computer. But the government thought it was too strongly tight to games computer, so they switched to KC85, the Kleincomputer, aka compact computer. To make it very short, between the KC85/2 and the /4, most changes were either to the ROM BIOS and memory mapping, as well as a few changes in the components and connectors. The plan to create the KC85/5 was nearly complete, but the break of the wall between the Western and Eastern Germany killed off that project. I'm sure as soon as the wall fell, everyone was like clamoring for Commodore 64s and, oh, you know, whatever was contemporary at the time, IBM PCs and stuff like that. There is still a scene of enthusiasts built add-ons and fixes for the KC85, and even the discontinued KC85/5 can be created by either modifying existing older models or building it from scratch. The only caveat of this community is that it is nearly completely reliant on German language, since the scene was just based on the eastern parts of Germany. As you can imagine, these computers are getting rare, and for example, the cables and fuses of the power supplies are known to rot. That's why I added a test PSU, which is even 110 to 240 volt compatible. But I am sure you know how to modify the original power supply to adapt to 110 volts. That would, of course, only be possible if the original power supply was a switching power supply, but if it was a linear supply, then really, yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do actually, because the transformer would have to be swapped out and you'd have to find the same output voltage and all that kind of stuff. The KC85 CPU is a U880, which is a Z80 clone utilizing metric pin distance 2.5 instead of 2.54 millimeter, and can be upgraded with a great number of modules from V25 or V24 serial modules, DIY user modules, expansion modules, EPROM writers, etc. Also can be stacked with a backplane data bus to use even more devices like floppy drives, etc. There's a Wikipedia article, and we have some YouTube videos here to watch. You can turn on the automatic translation to English, so I'll definitely have to check that out. The KC85 fans do gather around these websites, like a few different websites there. And you know what? Google Translate actually is decent when, you know, for reading German websites. It's not useless. I use it periodically when I'm looking at C64 stuff that's only in German. There are a few more goodies inside which are not related to the computer. There's also a snack inside, which is somewhat special. Most of the Eastern German products didn't survive after Eastern and Western Germany reunited, but there is one chocolate snack which did. That's the, okay, I'm going to try to say this. Oh, I think I've had this before. Knusperflocken by Z80. No, I'm sure I messed that up badly.
Knusperflocken.
I'm pretty sure it isn't the exact same taste it had 40 years ago, but it could be that teenagers were eating it back in the day sitting in front of their KC85.
Knusperflocken
Was a genuine Eastern German snack made of crushed crisp bread and chocolate. It really tastes good and is not super sweet, which is why it's still available in the supermarkets all over Germany. I hope you have fun exploring this unique part of history. Cheers, Daniel. Thank you very much, Daniel, for the very thoughtful letter there. And yeah, I remember chatting with you on email now, and you were saying that you didn't want to send, like, you know, yet another 64 or whatever. So you decided to send some interesting stuff. Here is the chocolate that Daniel was talking about. I am almost positive that another viewer has sent this in before. Or maybe I had it while I was in Germany. Let's open this up, and I got to give it a little taste test. Oh yeah, this looks super familiar now. Oh yes, I've absolutely had this before. These are freaking delicious. Absolutely so good. I shouldn't be eating this stuff. It's like, I mean, it's not that sweet, but it's a chocolatey, yummy, crunchy. Oh, it's just so good. Now, what's actually kind of cool is I'm having some friends over for drinks on Saturday, this coming Saturday, so in a couple days, and I'm gonna have to give them a small amount of this so they can try this amazing East German candy. So that one in the light gold package was classic flavor, and then this one here is Zarbitter. So obviously, like, maybe it's dark chocolate kind of thing, so it's a little bit less sweet even. And then for Haribo's, we have some Super Mario ones. I think they have these in the US now, actually. These ones, oh, another Super Mario, or either that or someone else will send me these, because I've had all three of these, actually. Oh, and another one of the bitter one, and we have another bag, or there's two different bags of the classic here. Oh, so good, so good. Okay, well, let me move this candy away, and let's take a look at this computer a little closer. All right, so here's the main attraction. Here's the computer. So there it is, the KC85/3 in color, US spelling of color as well. I don't know, I can't imagine in German that is the word for color. Basis device. So like the base computer, I think that stands for. Power on off, again in English, very surprising. We have reset. I love memory selection, ROM, RAM, and IRM, whatever that is. So perhaps this is like some kind of banking situation, and it actually gives you an indication of how that works. The keyboard connection, the tape connection, and then these expansion units. Oh, and look at this one, 64K of RAM. Whoa, and you tilt these little metal things down and then this slides out. Look at that, made in GDR. Freaking cool. And we can see in there, you can't really see, but there's a card edge connector down in there. So we'll slide this back in, clicks into place. And then we have a blank here, obviously for another expansion module, and Daniel included another blank plate. So the one where the RAM expansion goes, I have the cover that matches. So on the bottom of the unit, we have just some vents, a little bit of rust. On the top, same thing. Now, this is a metal top, and it's got screws on the sides. All right, so made in GDR, RFT. You can kind of see the serial number. It's a little hard to read. 6854 with 2 zeros leading. Here's a manufacture date, January 1985. 220 volts, 50 hertz, 25 watts. And I guess this is like an internal power supply because this actually has a mains plug right here. So my assumption is this test power supply here actually, which has a mains input, has a switching mode thing in there, and then look at this connector. This must be what's used inside the computer. So I think the idea would be is I take out the mains cable or take the lid off at least, and then I just plug this in and, you know, don't use this original power supply. I can see a transformer here through the vent, so I know that's not a switching power supply. So modifying this for US operation, unless there's an extra winding that automatically is for 110 volts, who knows? Maybe when they designed this thing, they designed it to work in other countries. Maybe there's a multi-voltage capable transformer in there. We do have some cassettes here, Kleincomputer, KC85, Spiel 8, and oops, that just sort of popped apart. There it is, Spiel 8. So we have a data cassette of some kind. Same thing on there. Let's look at this card here. I'm not sure what any of this stuff means, but I gotta say, the artwork is really cool though. Very 80s and, you know, Iron Curtain looking. Totally love that. So that's one of the tapes. And then look at this other one here, the digital cassette, the DK. Yeah, it's analog, but I guess it is storing digital data. Digital cassette DK type 490. So I wonder if someone's like programs are stored on here. Like this is obviously one you could just buy. Oh, this is actually a backup tape. You know, I actually had a tape drive for a PC, if I recall, and I used this kind of tape. So it has, instead of breaking the tab, it has a little slider thing here. And then it has this, because there are the tape backup system that use regular like compact cassettes. Oh, that's different too, isn't it? It required this notch. Otherwise you could, well, it didn't let you just use standard audio tapes. They probably would work if you use like a good quality one. And there we go again, made in GDR. Is this something to do with the speed here? 63 FW per millimeter? I don't know. Yeah, if anyone recognizes these specifically, these types of tapes, this one didn't have the notch on it. No, that's just a normal audio cassette. And it's my assumption that this audio quarter here just takes regular tape. So yeah, this is a standard tape. Although look, this is from that same company. This is GDR, but yet they printed low noise in English. I absolutely love that. Like how common was this, that you had English writing all over stuff made for the East German market in East Germany. And on the back side here, it looks like someone wrote something on there. And on this side, same thing, 1 and 2. Tape is wound up pretty nicely. It doesn't look like to be super high quality, but it's not like you can really tell by just looking at the color of the tape there. This is a neat looking machine also, I must say. I'll definitely have to use a step-up converter to run this thing. And I think the problem with these types of units, this isn't gonna work here because this requires 50 hertz. It uses like an AC synchronous type motor. Running it off 60 hertz is gonna play back at the wrong speed. Now what's interesting is I actually have a frequency converter device and it can step up to 220 volts and output 50 hertz. It's kind of like an inverter in a way, and it's very selectable. The outputs are selectable, what you get out of it. Like you can create 120 volts at 50 hertz or 220 volts or 240 volts at 60 hertz or 50 hertz. You can like pick all that stuff. I think it supports 100 volts as well, or 108, whatever the Japanese frequency is at 50 or 60 hertz. Problem is, it's not working. It has a fault right now. I actually had it running and it was working perfectly, and then it never worked again. It's a repair that I'm gonna have to do. I haven't even shown it on the channel. Someone local gave it to me because it's huge and super heavy, and it's very high capacity. Like, it's not just a small device designed for something like a tape recorder like this. This is designed for powering up like 15 amp loads and stuff like that at those new frequencies. So I need to get that working if I ever want to like test this tape drive out. We can still test it on, I have a regular step-up converter, but it's going to be running at 60 hertz. I have a feeling this thing will just be playing too fast, but we can try it. Now, looking at this thing, the data core GCC 6025, we have a counter and a memory button there. Oh, that's a selection button. So maybe when this is, say, set to, say, 50, you push memory, and then if you play beyond it and then rewind, it will stop automatically when you get back to the whatever it was set to when you push this. Or it says RFT here, which is the same brand, as far as I'm aware, of what's on the computer. I'm not sure stylistically like what this is for. Is this for like, no, I don't know. This is just like a styling thing, I guess. Power light and a low battery light, again, in English. Check that out. Power and low battery. I guess this is just a stylistic thing as well. Maybe there's another model of this unit that these were like input-output jacks for headphones and stuff like that. We have an oval-looking speaker in there. What's this do? It says nets and bat. Is this a switch? Oh, it is a switch. Oh, okay, this must be battery or AC power. So battery, this thing has a battery inside? I don't know. Don't see a door, so we might have to take the screws out. Let's do that. I know people are probably wanting to see inside the computer, but let's look at the tape drive first. So there it is, cassette recorder. Some German stuff here, I don't know. Made in GDR again, 15 watts. I am kind of wondering if there is some kind of a battery in here and if that battery has leaked or not. Looks like we have a couple missing screws. There was one down in there, but these two don't have anything. All right, that pops off. All right, so that came from somewhere. I'm really digging this. I think this is like a shielding or something. It's bright red. Totally love it. All right, so looking inside. We have a Tesla branded speaker. Isn't Tesla a Ukrainian company? That's what I'm thinking. Now, I am furthest from the optimal person to be working on something like this. Hopefully this thing just works. Looks like the belt is good. I can see there's a belt right there. I'd say that someone's already been in here to recap it because these are Nichicons. Well, that's a Nichicon, and I can't imagine it had a Nichicon Japanese-made cap in this thing originally. Now, I don't really see any provisions for a battery in here unless that was something like a pack that sat right here. Now, I am curious about what was floating around in here because I do hear something floating. Here it is. This is what came out. Can I tell where this came from? I think it's like a PCB holder, like it, you know, goes onto the PCB, sort of like that, or goes onto something somewhere. Looks like there's a potentiometer right here that sticks through the front. No, it's not a knob. It's actually just a button on and off. I have a feeling this might be for that right there. So it's like speaker on and off. Maybe that's what that does. Which is interesting because now I think about it, I don't even see a volume control anywhere on this thing whatsoever. This is the DIN jack that goes to the computer, so it carries the audio signal. And it looks like we have another belt right here that's for the tape counter, and that looks okay. Overall, the construction is just really cool to look at. Like, just the way the construction looks. Now, stuff made in West Germany might have looked similar to this, to be honest, at the time. I haven't really looked inside much West German electronics either, but this is fascinating. So this is like a guard, a ground guard, I think. I don't know the right terminology for it, but it's grounded here, and it just makes its way around this, and it's held on right there and goes back to there. So it's like a loop that just is essentially helping. I think it cuts down on noise or interference on like this component right here. Overall, this has really quite amazing construction quality. When you compare this to a data set from Commodore of the same vintage, that thing is like, you know, it's not like it's badly made, but it's just flimsy. Look at the size of the flywheel, this like thick metal, heavy metal thing here. And the motor, you can't really see how big the motor is, but like it goes way down in there. Giant motor, so the whole thing is like super overbuilt. As far as the transformer goes, it definitely only has a single winding for input, so there's no way to run this off 120 volts. And when you push the battery switch, it's physically moving something right here. So There must be something somehow. I don't really get it, because on the cover here, there's no connector for a battery. You would think that there would be some kind of way to charge an internal battery. So this just must be a provision for something that wasn't actually on this unit. I also don't see anywhere where this little plastic piece goes. So if you are familiar with this particular tape drive and you know where this little plastic round piece goes, please comment down below. And I'm gonna tape this inside the unit here just to keep it in place. And in the future, if I ever figure out where that goes, I can install it. Alrighty, it is back together. No more stuff floating around inside. I even got this thing back on there. I wanted to do some quick testing of this cassette player here. So I have a tape I've recorded here. This thing has royalty-free music on here, so it's perfect for testing. As for powering this thing up, we have the original power cord, and I have here a little death adapter, I think, as Big Clive calls it. So this should allow me to plug that in, adapt it to a US standard plug. And the reason why the US plug is important, even though we're going to 220 volts, is this is my step-up converter. And if we flip this up here, it has a regular US plug on it, because originally this was a step-down converter. So it went from 240 volts or 220 volts down to 120 or 110 volts. Now you can see here, this has a normal US style cord on here. And that's because I opened this thing up and I reversed the transformer. So I flipped it around, which means that this thing now does the step up. So I installed a new power cord here, but I didn't go ahead and change this output plug. I put stickers here to say 240 volts inputs, 240 volts, and this is good for 300 watts. So with that plugged into the wall, if we flip this switch here, we are now getting 240 volts on this plug. Mains cord goes into the side right here. And then the step up is currently turned off, so slide that in there. This whole thing is kind of sketchy. And just to reiterate with this particular unit, there's the DIN output. There was what looks like a headphone jack that is blanked off. There's something there that's just a blank. Something on this side that's just a blank. Oh, I just realized that's that little piece I saw floating around. This must have originally had a carry handle right here for lugging this thing around, and that's the blanking plate. So, okay, I taped that up inside the unit. We do have the battery or main switch there, and on the back there's nothing. And on the front here we have a button to push whether we want, I think, the speaker on or not. So what I'm really curious about is on 60 Hertz, which we're about to run this on, will this thing actually play at the right speed? So let's pop in my royalty-free tape here. Here we go, I'm gonna turn this on. I'm gonna step back here. Okay, nothing bad happened here. Let's hit play. It's turning. Do we have sound? This might take a moment here for the music to start. There it is. So it's kind of quiet. Let's try this button on the front. Yes, it does turn off the speaker. All right, so the mechanism in here, the transport, is a little screechy and noisy, but it is playing. Let me take my wireless mic and stick it on the speaker here. All right, well, it is so screechy, and it turns out it's the motor in there, because when we hit pause, it's still making that screechy noise, even though the transport's not turning anymore. As for the question of whether it's playing at the right speed or not, I'm not 100% sure, because it's not easy to hear the music over the loud screeching, and I'm not super familiar with this royalty-free music to know 100%. Sounds right, but if it's only like 10% off, then maybe I wouldn't be able to tell very easily. I have this Disney tape from Lion King here, and I think this has talking on it and stuff, so it's a little easier to hear if the speed is off. Now, I can't play this because, of course, it's completely copyrighted, but let me just take a listen. After listening to this tape, I can confirm 100% this thing is definitely playing at the right speed. It would be playing fast here if it was an AC synchronous motor, but this must convert the AC to DC first, which actually, now I think about it, makes sense, because this does seem to support battery, even though this thing doesn't have the battery facilities in there, and that means it can run on DC, so it's not going to use a synchronous motor. It's pretty cool this thing works. Good old East German tape recorder here. I wish I could turn the volume up on this. It sounds decent. Incidentally, if we push this button right now, it does cut the power to the entire unit. And there we go, it comes back. It's pretty cool, this thing does totally work. I just need to open it up again, I guess, and lubricate that motor. Try to figure out how to get rid of that screeching noise. Okay, moving on. These are the cables that I showed while unboxing. We actually have a few books, and then there's this stuff. So this, I'm pretty sure I got one of these from someone in Europe. This is like one of those fiberglass pens, but a much better quality one. And these here are like replacement things for inside the pen. Good for polishing stuff. I recall that this was the one here that was sent in by a previous viewer. It might be from Switzerland or something, this one. But there it is. It looks a little different. And then these were the replacement tips for that, and they look the same. So these must be just like really common to find in Germany, like in craft stores or hardware stores. This is not something you ever do find in the US. I have never seen this stuff. The Laufer 1021 from Germany. I like it. And then we have this here, some kind of a pencil here. The Mars Razor, and has a brush on the end. Art number? I don't know. Please comment down below if you can let me know what the deal is with this. Anyhow, let's take a look at these books here. So there, must be the manual, right, for this thing? The Kleincomputer. Look at that. It's so cool. It's had a printer as well. Look at those graphics. And a different cassette drive there. Oh, so neat. So I don't know if this is like the equivalent of a manual, or maybe this was like a user guide. Maybe these are the manuals. Oh, these must be the manuals here. So this must be like, you could buy a book, how to write programs for your computer, basic programs and things like that. Yeah, so this thing runs basic. It runs regular basic. That is so cool. Check him out. Dropping letters behind. I don't know if this is like, what can you do with a microcomputer or something like that? Hardware, software, and something or other. Oh, we have a little bit of a history of the computer here. And that's talking about here, like CAD, CAM, flexible automation. I wonder if there's anything in here about the US at all. Like the Z80 processor in here was invented in the US. And here it looks like it's talking about the Kleincomputer, like the different version, the KC85-2, the 85-3. It does say here, 1946, the ENIAC, the first computer, I think had like 18,000 tubes. Scanning through the rest of this, doesn't really talk about anything to do with the processor or anything like that. We got a little diagram here, the computer, the recorder, the TV, and that would be the video connection, I guess, antenna connection there, and then nets must be power. Here it's talking about the structure of the computer here, and it actually says the word firmware. I don't know if I ever saw firmware mentioned back in 1985. And there it is, the microprocessor. It's the U880. The ROM, or read-only memory, or in German, the Nur-Lesse Speicher, or something like that. My German is useless. And then we have RAM, random access memory, or in German, the Speicher mit wahlfreiem. My German. Like, I'm gonna stop now. This is bad. It's just fun looking at this stuff. So we have the data bus, the address bus, and I wonder what this store bus is here. Is this I/O or something? I'm not quite sure. I do love these little drawings though, very cute. So here are some of the commands. We have CLS for clear screen, C-load, C-save for cassette save and load, list and lines. I'm not too familiar with the lines command in BASIC. We have the usuals like print, if, and end. I don't know why they're grouping those together. For, to, and there's a step command in this version of BASIC. That's nice. It's got go sub, return, on, go to, on, go sub. So this BASIC seems to have some decent level of commands. Looks like the graphics on this system is 320 by 256. So yeah, PAL style graphics. And here are a list of all the basic commands that this thing supports. It actually has a renumber command. That's pretty nice, pretty fancy there. Also built-in sound commands, randomize, pset, not sure what that does. We also have a switch command that's relatively fancy. vpoke and vpeak, is that for video memory specifically? Trace on and off. Sorry, I'm on a bit of a tangent here looking at this book. It's just fascinating. So yeah, here we get into some programs to type in. This is pretty cool. So there's the computer, the base system, and then that's the expansion unit, and there was a connector card edge on the back. Must be a ribbon cable that connects to this and gives you 4 extra expansion slots. And his dog here is very interested in what's happening on the TV here. All right, check it out. Here's the KC85/1 with a couple joysticks and a keyboard that looks absolutely horrible. And there's the data quarter right there. That's the exact one that was included here. And then there is the KC85-2 with the same data quarter, better layout on the keyboard. Well, I guess that's the same exact keyboard we have here, isn't it? Yes, it is. There it is. The main unit looks basically identical. And then here's the KC85/3. That's the one we have here. And there is the same unit as well. So yeah, same setup. Neat. Ooh, and we have other computers from KC. Check this one out. Look at that Battle Station keyboard. So is this the BC5120 and /30? Sweet. Look at the 3 disk drives. And then a different version with that same awesome Battle Station, the PC1715. Could this be PC compatible? I just love the monitor stand. That is so freaking cool. This one looks more boring, the AC7100. This just looks sweet. I love the look of that one. This one, just sort of a little bit more run-of-the-mill. I mean, it's still cool looking, very chunky, but just less interesting. We have a little chart here comparing the different units. So the /1, /2, and /3, they all have the same Z80 processor. 32K of base memory versus 16K. ROM is 4K on the 1 and 2, and then 16K on the /3. And then we have what looks like peripherals maybe. So there's a plotter, cassette unit. And then we have this 8/8 or 16/8. I think that's gotta be colors. There's the resolution in pixels. And then these other systems here, like that one I didn't think would look super sweet. It's an 8086. Oh, I like how they just printed like that. With 256K of RAM, 640 by 400 resolution. So a little bit non-standard versus the standard PC. But I'm sure this wasn't regular, fully PC compatible. The PC1715, though, was a Z80. Only 2K of ROM, though. I guess it loaded everything back off the disk drive. We have diskettes, cassettes. We have plotters. We have all sorts of goodies here. Centronics, V24. This must be like a standard type interface that all of these have. And then IFSS, is that like for tape drives maybe? And then we have these peripherals. So Drucker must be printers, right? So 100 characters per second maybe? Different interfaces, V24, IFFS, Centronics, Matrix, dot matrix printer. Is that what that stands for there? We have the Drucker Robotron. 40 characters a second, RS-232, Centronics or V24, typewriter style. Yes, it's probably like a daisy wheel. I bet you that's what that stands for. Typenrad Drucker. I'm probably saying Drucker wrong. I apologize to my German viewers for my terrible pronunciation. And there is one of the printers, the K6100, the Nadeldrucker. So that's this one right at the top here, 100 characters per second. And then we have this little mini one here, the 6303. It prints on like little tape, looks like. Oh, and then a plotter. Sweet. Yeah, plotter K6411. All right, computer lexicon. So I think this is like a glossary. I think that's what that's called. I forgot my English words. ASCII. The American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Yes, that's right. It's talking about Lisp and Forth and logo. And looks like some tables here to help you with your graphics design and commands, and looks like some programs to type in as well at the back. Oh, what a neat book. What a freaking neat book. Sorry I spent so much time on that. It's so fascinating. Basic handbook. We have system handbook. Oh, look at this. RAM expansion manual, I guess. And then this one, which I'm thinking this is, I don't know what this is, like the overview? I guess that means maybe? Oh yeah, this seems like an overview. Basic commands, just all command syntax. Oh, look, characters that it supports. Assuming this has like special characters for German, right? Because German has a bunch of extra characters that English does not use. And just some more helpful stuff in here, all in German. So I can't really understand it, but you know, the computer, sort of like the universal language. So system handbook here. Back when things actually came with manuals, of course. So yes, explaining the ports and whatnot on the system. Very nice. Ah, look at this. So I guess when you first power it on, like the operating system, zoom in on that, you can enter basic, rebasic, whatever that is, switch, jump, menu, save, verify, load, color, modify. I'm not sure what this is, if those are basic commands or what, but all right, pretty neat. Got a little block diagram here, module B, module C. So those are the two that I guess plug in the front of the unit, ROM, RAM, and IRM, whatever that stands for. With the CPU. IRM maybe has to do with the graphics subsystem because there's the video interface, the PAL color encoder, And then the modulator, so that's the RF modulator, because it does have RF output and it has RGB output. Well, it has RGB, then this FBAS, is that sound maybe? And then we have the antenna connection here for the RF. And then we have this interface here, which goes to the cassette recorder. And then whatever this is, the tastator, I don't know what that means. So nets, so that's the power input. We got 12 volts positive, 5 volts positive, and 5 volts negative. Okay, so pretty easy enough. In fact, it really wouldn't be too hard to just remove that entire transformer that's inside there and put something like this, the little ATX power supply in there, and one of those little adapters that a viewer sent in that will generate the -5 volts that this thing needs. Pretty cool though, look at this, the edge connector pinouts. So that's the expansion connector. This is the RGB connector. Now I know a few German words, I know this means output, so video output. So it looks like the expansion interface is just like standard Z80 stuff. We have the power rails on there, the data bus, we have IO stuff, because the Z80, just like the Intel processor, has IO addressing as well for IO ports. There's a write signal, a refresh signal, bus request. Yep, pretty much all the good stuff. We have memory maps in here. This is nice. This is quite comprehensive. Looks like we have some ROM routines here that you can access, like power on reset. Yeah, that's what runs F0000H, right? Okay. Yep, lots of info on all the routines, on the fonts. This is so cool. Very, very cool. Let's just quickly look at this manual. I haven't even looked at the computer yet. This video is like going on forever here. So, yep, okay. That's all about the expanded RAM and the basic handbook, which we already looked at the other book, so we don't really need to look through this so much. Very comprehensive, though. I don't see any pictures in here, though. Maybe not super kid-friendly. Maybe the people who were getting these, maybe this was very expensive for East Germany, so the people who did get these weren't just kids, they were the adults. They had to run like, you know, not game software. So the manuals were written for adults. All right, let's grab the computer. I've decided that I'm not gonna be testing the computer in this video. I'm gonna have to leave that for a future video, but we are gonna open it up and take a look inside. So, how do we open this? I know it's got screws on the sides and they are Phillips. So let's grab a screwdriver and let's take the screws out of the side. Okay, so all the 8 screws are out now. Now what happens here? I'm not sure. I think I was on the right track with the top 4 screws. I think the top pops off. It's just a really tight fit. Yes, I'm using a plastic spudger here to get this off. I don't want to scratch anything, since this is basically an unknown computer here in the US. Okay, the cover is free. There we have it. Look at that. Let me pop this RAM module out of here. Look at this. All right, what a cool machine. So this is the power supply as I was talking about. It has this connector here. So this would be where I plug in that test connector that can run on 120 volts. And to be honest, I know, well, I guess I'd like to hear from people in the comment section. What do you think about me modifying this computer by removing this power supply and just putting this power supply inside the case, if this fits? I'd have to open it up and look inside here, but if this fits in there, doing that, or just doing what I said and putting the mini ATX power supply in here with the little adapter module, and then I would just run this off a standard 12 volt wall wart. That might be the better idea. Just like, I don't really trust these old power supplies to not send some kind of voltage that they shouldn't. It's a linear supply, so they're pretty reliable, but still, it'd be nice to have it a little safer than this thing. Now, I'm not gonna take this thing apart further, like take this board off here until I'm able to test this thing. So I don't wanna somehow break it and make it worse. But really, feast your eyes on the construction. Look at these bypass caps. There's so many and they're so big. I just love it. I absolutely love how this looks in here. We have some more ICs, like a 40-pin dip, the UB855D. Got a little bodge wire, a little flying bodge wire right there. We got some other dips here. Maybe that's a ROM chip. I should have said over here, this is obviously RAM, DRAM. This thing has 32K. Now, there's a lot of RAM. I'm actually not quite sure what kind of RAM this would be, because if this was 16K here, then that would be 32. But under the board there is another 1, 2, 3, 4 more banks of memory. So I can only assume that these are 4K by 1 bit, and we have 32K by having 8 total banks of memory. And it's quite possible it goes really far back there, underneath there. It is possible that there is that much memory on this thing in 4K DRAM chips. And I think this might be another set of them right here as well. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's a space there because there's a switch, and then there's the 8th chip. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 banks right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can count 7 banks. So there might be another bank hiding around back there that I just can't really see. Now looking down there, you can't really see it, but down there I'm pretty sure there's some larger dips. So the Z80 processor has got to be back there somewhere. This top board here, this is the video output circuitry. So this is just the expansion interface. Notice that edge connector that's on the back here pretty much is a straight shot to this, and this probably has some selection stuff in there. But there is circuitry here because that, when we tilt this up, that's the video connection right there. Alrighty, so we have seen inside this computer and it is freaking awesome. And the construction quality of this thing is quite nice. As I mentioned, the top cover here is metal. That's just a little bit of like tape residue or something. It's nice. This thing is really nice. Look how cool the front looks. So freaking awesome. All right, let's take a look at the keyboard here. There it is, the KC85 keyboard. It certainly doesn't feel very nice to type on. So we have Quartz. So the Z or the Z and the Y are swapped around, but everything else seems to be in the same, expected layout. So we have one shift key over here, caps lock, F1 through F6, break, stop, insert, delete, clear, home, up, down, left, right, cursor keys, at least in a decent orientation. Enter is there. That is an unusual spot. You gotta what do? Hand gymnastics to push that if you're typing on this thing? Or down there. I mean, you can kind of see they don't really travel like normal keys. It almost feels like a calculator keyboard, but instead of rubbery keys, these are plastic. It's just, there's a rubber dome under there, so it doesn't feel super good to type on. Quote is shift 2, so that's pretty normal. We have a $sign as we would expect. So for a 1985 keyboard, or even earlier, if you think about the earlier KC85 had the same keyboard, it's not a bad layout, to be honest. I mean, for US typers, this is going to be the most difficult thing, and the rest of the symbols are in strange positions, but that's not any different than anything else from the old days. And again, I am very curious, how exactly does this work with just a single connector? Maybe we need to open this thing up. Let's see. Okay, let's open it. It's got some flathead screws here. Oh, you know what? I'm going to open the other keyboard, the less nice one. Oh, let's take a look at the sticker here. Keyboard from RFT. There it is, made in GDR. Let's open the other keyboard that's not as nice. One thing I'm noticing is you can see glue residue here. Look at this. Someone put glue here, and this little recess is deeper than this one. Oh, I see. This is a glued in plate. Why is that done that way? Why is this glued in, considering it's just the same texture and color as the plastic? Why'd they even bother with that? Very strange. So that's missing, but it doesn't really have much effect. I guess this keyboard saw a lot more use. Yeah, the keys feel a lot more worn out, so someone has drawn with a marker the E and the A. And you can see here the enter key is completely worn off. So yep, lots more use on this. And as you can see, the badge is missing on the bottom, but we have this here. Anyone recognize that? It's like an inventory type sticker. Anyhow, let's get these screws out. I want to see how this thing works. Is it like resistors? Is there a chip in here? Is it like powering the thing and it's like phantom power? And all right, let's see how this comes apart. I hope the keys don't all like fly out everywhere. Nope, they don't. All right, well, right off the bat, we do have some electronics in here. I mean, oh wait, no, look. There's actually a larger dip here and some electronics. So this thing must be powered off this, and somehow it transmits the key you're pushing back to the computer. I'm not sure how this bottom comes off. I don't want to break it, so I don't really need to take this apart at this point. It looks like this IC here is a CD4011, so an analog switch of some kind. We have some transistors, a capacitor, and then this IC here says U807D. Yeah, that's all a little bit mysterious to me, that this thing is getting powered and transmitting data over just 2 wires. Alrighty, that is gonna be it for this mail call episode. There it is, the KC85/3. Daniel, thank you for sending in this freaking awesome computer. It will be a little bit of time before I can really dig into it. In fact, I have a good number of computers from the UK, as you mentioned in your letter, and even a Russian computer, like from the old Soviet Union, that I haven't dug into yet. So this stuff is gonna have to go onto the back burner for now, but I did get it. It made it here in perfect condition, so thank you very much for the excellent packing. And how cool and how exciting. This whole thing is just so neat. I've never heard of this computer, and I can't imagine there are many people in the US that were not born in Germany and like around back in the day who've ever heard of this computer. And I mean, how many of these are even in the US right now? I can't imagine there's very many. So it is pretty cool to have such an awesome little machine. So thank you very much for sending it in, and the books and the candy and the tape recorder and the keyboards and all the cabling and this replacement power supply. Absolutely stunning. I'm completely amazed by this one. And yes, thank you very much. Thanks to everyone else who sent stuff in a mail call previous episodes. And I know I have a backlog and there's still a ton of stuff over there to get to. So I'm slowly chipping away at it. But at least, well, this video is probably pretty long because I read that book and we did all this looking at this stuff, and I only opened up 1 package in this video, which means there's still a ton more to get to back there. So yeah, sorry about that for everyone who sent stuff in and you're still waiting to see it. I will get to it. I'm trying to work my way through it. Just when you have amazing things like this that just take a lot of time to look at, it takes me a little bit of time. So anyways, all right, thanks to my patrons. Their names are scrolling up the side of the screen over here. You can become a patron too if you want to support the channel, because of course I rely on the Patreon now because I do this full time, and without them that would not be possible. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me out, especially on the second channel. It's quick and easy to do, and it really absolutely makes a difference. It supports your creators really well. And thumbs up if you like this video, thumbs down if you didn't. You know what to do, all the usual YouTube stuff. And I will see you later, so stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.